This is the budget for the data center.
Oh, hi, Tommy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
So I'm doing some acting right now.
Are you?
Yeah, look to your left. Hey, my name is Carlos Duran. I'm a reporter here at Imperial County. We just got here to the Cambria. Oh, we just checked in, by the way. At 6 p.m., we're gonna be joining the data center workshop today, so stay tuned for that. Have you guys heard about the data center? Job benefits. El data center aquí en Imperial. Pero todavía puedo ir a la escuela.
Tan joven en la escuela.
Tan joven, sí.
Nomás cuando estaba chiquillo.
Okay, ándale, gracias. Job benefits.
Thank you.
Is that the data center for the community? It's an AI data center. We're just raising awareness. AI Data Center is going to provide jobs. The pamphlet that talks about those jobs. Buenas tardes. Y va a tener muchos trabajos aquí al condado. And we are here at the Board of Supervisors meeting Wednesday, June 14th, getting ready for the data center workshop. Come on, let's go on up and check it out. It's good enough or what? There's gonna be fireworks going on.
Oh, yeah. I'm not going to talk. Entonces,
Y ahí estaba en la escuela. ¿Vale? Ahí está el Francisco. Okay, I'm gonna sit over there. At the workshop. It's about 5:30 and it's gonna start any moment now. So it's January 14th, about 6:04 p.m. and the workshop is about to begin and everybody's excited to hear what both sides have to say. Stay tuned. That was amazing. Yeah, workshop's about to begin.
Imperial County Executive Officer, and I want to thank you all for being here today. We look forward to your participation and appreciate you taking time out of your lives to come here. This workshop, as you know, is intended as an informational and collaborative discussion and is not related to any data center project. Its purpose is to provide general information and facilitate robust discussion. Participants are subject to time limits of 3 minutes each to ensure everyone has an opportunity. One speaker at a time. Shouting or talking over others is not permitted. The facilitator may redirect or limit remarks that are off topic or repetitive. Gestures or inflammatory remarks are prohibited. Failure to do so may result in removal from the workshop.
My name is Barry Bean, and I am a lifelong resident of Imperial County. I deeply care about our community and about Imperial County and about opportunities here for us now and in the future. So if you don't want to participate, you don't have to. By a show of hands, how many people are here today to learn more or to share comments on the benefits about data centers? How you feel about data centers regardless of today's presentation or comments you hear. What some of you participated in with IID a few weeks ago, where they had a data center consultant that specialized on power and grid reliability. If you haven't had a chance to hear that presentation and you're interested in that, it was recorded and it is available on the IID site. As staff and as supervisors, the county has been listening to the feedback that we've received. Ask direct questions that you may have about data centers. AI data centers are different than regular data centers. At the end of the day, a data center is a data center, despite the types of technology that might be inside of it. In traditional data centers, there can also be graphic processing units, GPUs. It's not evaluated based on the specific type of computing hardware that is inside of it, or the technology. The technical differences between data centers and AI data centers. Many people are opposed to things like ChatGPT, Gemini, or the host of other services that are out there. The reality is we do need data centers. And many of you may be aware of the different things that data centers do, but you might not know the full host of things that they do. Everything from emergency services to public services to supply chain and domestic manufacturing services, healthcare and medical access, education, workforce training, online digital learning platforms. And then there are things like AI with ChatGPT and Gemini and those types of services as well. But there's also life-saving services that we need from data centers. When we look at components with medical as an example, there's significant research and potential cures that are happening right now using AI technology and using data centers. There's also the everyday things that we do with our phones. There's the online shopping. So there really is no question as to whether or not we need data centers. And it's really pretty basic in terms of what developers need. They're looking for zone-approved land for data centers. They're looking for power, water, natural gas, and fiber. And in Imperial County, we do have all of those things. And so that's one reason that it would be appealing for a data center to come here. Not all data centers are looking for clean or renewable energy to power their facilities, but many of the large-scale data centers are. In Imperial County, we are actually the second largest renewable energy producer by county in the state of California. We have over 500 megawatts of geothermal power that we produce, over 2,400 megawatts of solar, over 125 megawatts of battery storage, and over 265 megawatts of wind power. Now, what's interesting about renewable power is that it's not all created equal. Most data center operators would not be interested in solar or wind power because we only have solar when the sun shines and we only have wind when the wind blows. But many data center operators are interested in geothermal because it is a baseload power, meaning that it produces power 24/7 a day, 365 a year. That's very similar to the needs of a data center, which needs power 24/7. From a technology standpoint, being able to be powered by renewable baseload power like geothermal is very appealing to many data center operators. In fact, many of the modern data centers are located in places like Phoenix, Las Vegas, the Middle East, Australia, around the world in climates that are hot. And it is a very standard practice at this point that the data center industry has figured out the technology to operate successfully in locations where the climate is hot. I'm not going to read through cooling approaches because I know that's something that all of you in the room are probably aware of. From high efficiency air cooling to hybrid cooling to liquid cooling, and sometimes that's water and sometimes that's synthetic fluids. But the point is, data centers can operate in locations where it's hot and they can do so successfully. By default, won't data centers compete with residents' water needs here and the agriculture needs that we have for water? But this is highlighting the equitable distribution plan that they refer to as EDP. And this is the water that is allocated and the way it is distributed from the IID. So when we think about water and we think about the concerns that we have as residents and the impact of how it may personally affect us if data centers are here or the water use. The other thing we've talked a lot about, or maybe you've heard about, is reclaimed water. It is wastewater. It's the poop water. It goes to cities, and there's a possibility for that to be treated. Now, in many cities and in different places and in different counties, those operations and those systems are already in full effect, and they are very successfully done, and they're able to use their water and then repurpose it in different ways. It's not repurposed for potable water, but it can be repurposed for things like sprinklers, industrial cooling. And so when we look at that here in Imperial County, the next logical question would be, well, we don't need a developer to do that for us. We can do that ourselves. The cities can do it. And when we look through that process of how that would work, if a city or a sanitation district were to pay for the cost of upgrading their systems, typically those costs have to be paid for somehow, right? So they're either going to be paid for through grants, through earmarks from state or federal distributions that a city here may receive, through bonds, or through increase to ratepayers. But at the end of the day, they have to be paid for somehow if we're going to improve our infrastructure and create new systems like that. Alternatively, when we talk about a developer funding tertiary systems, it's a private developer's funds that come in and help to create that infrastructure. But data centers specifically are a little bit different in terms of their operations. And you can see on the right side of the screen just some comparisons of operational type traffic from industrial uses. And so I've put on here an example of a 50 megawatt data center facility. So the amount of people that would be needed to operate it, or the amount of technology that would be needed to build it is going to be different. We also have the opportunity, as I mentioned, with the tertiary systems for infrastructure improvements. And that's everywhere from power to water to roads to different things that specific developers could bring in with local parks or community services. When we look at an expansion of external business services, this is really from the people that are coming in with development, then impacting other businesses. So impacting the local restaurants, the vendors, the hotels of people needing to stay here. From a tax benefit perspective, which is probably one of the largest opportunities for us as a region, there is a one-time sales use tax. There's also annual property tax. An annual property tax has many different distributions that go to it. But some of the things that are consistent with direct distributions are to our hospital districts, to our local school districts, and to our community college district. And those can be significant investments that go into those different entities each year. There's some traffic management plans, different haul routes that are predefined and predetermined, as well as limiting the hours of any heavy truck uses that are coming in and out of areas.
Essentially, my role here is to talk about how permitting occurs in the county. There are two categories of permitting. There is what's called ministerial permits and discretionary permits. How many of you know what an ADU is? They're popping up everywhere, state law. They're ministerial. Businesses generally are ministerial. Building permits, business licenses, there is no public process in that. We don't have the public come and say, hey, I don't want you to build a pool next to my house because I don't like pools next to my house. Process for a ministerial permit. Applicant comes in, submits an application, zoning review determines whether it's allowed, review for compliance and adaptation to objective standards, plan check, reviews to building permits, agency outreach, studies may be required on an objective standards basis, such as traffic and air quality, as Barry mentioned earlier. Permits are issued, structural construction occurs, progress inspections occur, and then finally you have either issued a final or a certificate of occupancy, depending on the nature of it. So a home gets a final, a business would get a certificate of occupancy, which would allow occupancy.
A discretionary permit requires approval based on judgment, not just meeting rules. It's not automatic.
On the discretionary side, a little bit different, but still a permit. Uses they need permission. So all of you, or a lot of you in this office or this building, I assume, have a driver's license. Those types of studies are done. The project is sent, in our case, to what we call the Environmental Evaluation Committee hearing, which is held in this office or this building. That hearing is open to the public. The public reviews what we call the initial study or the environmental checklist that's drafted by staff. Ultimately, that gets determined whether it's going to be a neg deck, or EIR. Once that determination happens, it gets circulated. After that circulation, the project goes before the Planning Commission. If it's a smaller project, the Planning Commission has the right of approval, so say a parcel map. If it's a larger project like a tract map, the Planning Commission only has the right of recommendation. So right of approval is appealable to the board from the Planning Commission. Right of recommendation is not, because the board is the ultimate decision maker. So whether a project is approved, so at the end of the day, the board, either by appeal or by legislative action, is the final say on that. The CEQA process I mentioned a few minutes ago, we'll go over it real quick. Application is completed, determine whether or not it is exempt from CEQA. Agency outreach, we prepare an initial study, 8 studies from the agencies are required. We circulate the document once it's completed from 20 to 45 days. Public comments are received again. We revise that CEQA document, respond to comments that are applicable, goes to Planning Commission. From Planning Commission, again, as I mentioned earlier, it's appealable to the board, and then the board can hear it on appeal or based on the level of project.
Some of the other comments we've heard about data centers and concerns around potential effects on air quality. As it pertains to day-to-day operations, data centers do not produce any air emissions during their normal operations. Their servers, electrical equipment, cooling equipment, but those systems do not burn fuel. They're not combustion facilities, so because of that, there's no emissions associated with the actual day-to-day operations of a data center. On a typical day, you're looking at power coming from the electric grid that's powering that facility. Cooling systems using the electricity, again, not combustion. And so there is no routine emissions from the facility itself. Where the emissions potentially come from is from backup generators. And backup generators are part of the operations of a data center because they're needed as a redundancy. Meaning that if the power that is being provided to them goes out and there's a blackout, there would need to be a backup source that comes online. Now, oftentimes that is battery storage as an initial source of power, but it could also be generators. And so I've included on here some of the details from generators that they can emit nitrogen oxides, fine particulate matter, and other pollutants. They typically run during grid outages and for limited testing periods. And they are required to meet strict emission standards.
Belen Leon, the Air Pollution Control District. Currently, units are monitored through yearly inspections by enforcement departments. Annual usage and operating report required by the EPCD at the end of February of each year, operating year. So every year, of all the permits we have, through our enforcement department and through our engineering department, we go and visit those sites every year. ATCM meaning airborne toxic measures, which is another measure that we have to go through, approved by CARB. So inspections. Again, we just don't do a regular report and do nothing with it. This is what we do. Upon a data center facility obtaining a required permit to operate, or PTO, how we call it, the facility emission sources and control equipment are inspected. Those all require quarterly, semi-annual, and annual reports. Aside from our annual or semi-annual inspections that we do, they have to report to us as well. Perform a health risk assessment to determine whether their toxic emissions pose a significant risk to nearby residents and workers. Under the AB 2588, the health risk assessment goes through a risk category of low risk, intermediate risk, public notification risk, and risk reduction. And then it has its categories. I could go into more information if contact me and we could go in order for have the most efficient emission exposures, I want to say. Ambient air quality is a primary method for assessing air quality utilizing fixed monitoring stations with specialized instruments. It's not just any type of monitoring. Again, it's a conversation you do have to have with the Air Pollution Control District in order to let you know or agree that both parties agree what type of monitoring you're going to do. They just cannot do just anything they want. No, we're under regulation. We're under regulation with EPA and CARB. So it's not something that you just, or the source, I should say the project, can just do whatever they want. Next.
Nate George is outside counsel that specializes in CEQA analysis.
Sacramento-based law firm Rennie Moose Manley. We are a boutique law firm that specializes in CEQA and related land use issues. We advise a lot of public agencies up and down the state of California. I, along with my partner Chip Wilkins, are outside counsel for the County of Imperial. We've served in this capacity for the past 10 years or so.
Assistant County Counsel provide some guidelines about the public comment. If anybody today does not ask their question or provide their comment, but does have questions that you want to ask, we do have a new email that we've created, and that's questions@co.imperial.ca.us.
Before we begin the public statement and questions portion for this workshop, due to the anticipated number of speakers today, these expectations will serve as a reminder of the county's policies regarding public comments. This is not a public hearing, but a workshop, and each speaker will be given up to 3 minutes for their comments or questions.
I'd just like to thank you for having this event tonight, bringing some awareness for the community, and I'm not going to speak for the people that live adjacent to where a data center could be built, but I think that that is something that is going to be a discussion tonight, and I've been to this Board of Supervisors meeting, Planning Commission meeting, and I have not been treated fair, and I don't think that the commissioners or the supervisors have been treated fair. Believe me, the people that are on those commissions, supervisors, etc., are here for the public good. And they're doing things, they run for office or they get on these commissions because they want to see this community improve. There's been a lot of things that are on Facebook, a lot of misinformation that's out there. One of them was mentioned today has to do with the water. There's people that are saying that we're running out of water in Imperial County, but I want to assure you, we're not. As a matter of fact, last year there was 160,000 acre feet that were left in the Colorado River. And if you looked at what we saw tonight, the amount of water, that is more water than we consume, almost 3 times as much water that we consume for industry or houses in the Imperial County. We need to make sure that we protect that water by using it in reasonable and beneficial uses. Things that are going to create jobs for our community, and they're going to create taxes. The one thing that and by the way, my job is to bring companies here, and we have been working on data centers for nearly 20 years. We've had many come our way. We're very fortunate that we have an investor that's interested in Imperial County. We've had others that have not been successful. And I can't say that I was the one that attracted this investor because I only met him for the first time about 2 weeks ago. And he's been working on this project for over a year. But what I will say is that I would invite everybody to actually go to the site that's been in discussion and walk around and actually get out of your car and look at it. And I'd like you to look at the nighttime also. Because what is adjacent just to the west is industrial land, a railroad. There is also a gas fuel tank farm. Farm means multiple tanks. And once again, this is industrial land. But the reason that the developer is interested in this property because it is zoned, has natural gas, has fiber, and has all the things that a data center would need. If you look at the concerns of many of the people, and you can't, I can understand where they're coming from. They're concerned about their property values going down. Look at where they're building new homes, and look to the south of where those new homes are. You know what you're going to find? You're going to find the largest natural gas generator in the Imperial County. You're going to find a battery storage facility. You're going to find a solar facility. And that's exactly 1 mile south of where those new homes are, and the new school that's being built in the same distance from the data center. Thank you.
I'm speaking because I believe it's important that we understand where all this technology is actually going. So AI data centers are often called AI data factories. They're designed to grow. That's how AI works. More data, more computing power, more energy, more infrastructure by design. They are built for continuous expansion. What's built first is not the final build out. So size is not optional, it's the business model. AI systems improve by processing more data faster. This is industrial scale computing that serves the world. That requires higher power density, more cooling, more backup systems, more round-the-clock operation. Power, water, noise, heat, air emissions, traffic, and emergency response all interact.
I have free will. One thing we're not talking about is like California law.
The mic is
Oh,
off.
sorry. One thing we're not talking about is California just got called out on data centers. And Imperial Valley needs to pay attention. Senator Padilla today introduced a bill that says ratepayers are not the piggy bank. It's if a data center needs huge power lines, grid upgrades, and nonstop electricity, like the IID has publicly stated at their workshop, the developer pays for it, not us. And if data centers take billions of dollars to build, the developer can pay for CEQA oversight easily, because it's only, I don't know, a couple $1 million or no, I don't even know how. It's not a lot of money.
Discussion about data centers and a specific project. We're going to talk about jobs. Construction and employment is real, projected to double or triple within just a few years, placing pressure. Let's just pick a random number, 132. That equals 7.5 years of running in 1 year. Okay? Fuel type reduces some risks, but does not eliminate emissions, health impacts, or nuisance effects. On safety, battery energy storage systems, when present, have a documented incident history requiring specialized fire response and evacuation planning. Before projects arrive, the county should adopt clear public enforceable standards.
Imperial County. Imperial County has the highest unemployment rate in this country. That's a reality our members and families live with every single day. Our members want to work here, but that's just not a reality. As a result, our workers are forced to leave their homes, their families, and their community just to chase jobs out of town and out of state. No one should have to leave Imperial County to earn a living. The data center changes that. The data center represents thousands of good-paying jobs both during construction and beyond. These are not temporary low-wage jobs. These are career-level, family-sustaining jobs that allow workers to stay here, spend their money locally, and invest back into the community they live in. A data center will generate significant revenue for the county, revenue that can be reinvested into the infrastructure Imperial County desperately needs. Roads, utilities, public services, and long-term economic development. It's a foundation for the future of growth. Imperial County cannot afford to say no to opportunity. We can't afford to continue exporting our workforce while unemployment remains sky high. A data center delivers exactly what Imperial County needs: jobs, investment, and a stronger future. And to finish, I know we're not speaking on a specific project, but the recent data center that was proposed, I can tell you as of today, we have a letter in support from the state building trades, and that will ensure that the project is built 100% union, and that it will have local hire and apprenticeship provisions in that PLA. Thank you.
I know that the residents have had their electric bills raised as well as their water bills. We have conversations of people saying that we have an excess of water. So why aren't the residents seeing that water? Why are their bills being raised if there is an excess of water? So again, where is that energy going, and why aren't the residents being prioritized with this energy distribution?
So both of those are managed by our local utility, the Imperial Irrigation District. That is not a oversight of the County of Imperial. That's why we have a balancing authority like the IID. So the IID can choose to procure power from local solar producers, and they can choose to use that here locally. Or there can also be solar producers here that choose to have power purchase agreements where they sell their power to other places outside of Imperial County. But either of those methods are not something that there's oversight from the County of Imperial on. So if there's additional questions on solar or energy purchasing, those would be questions either for the actual producers or for the IID.
If the developer is going to fund the infrastructure, who pays for the upgrades and the maintenance? Who pays for the constant renovations? I know that someone had mentioned that to give a revision to a data center and to generators, they have to re-up it. So those are energy and fuels that weren't mentioned here. Who are going to pay?
So very similar answer. The county does not manage or provide oversight on the water allocations that come from the Colorado River, but those are all managed again by the Imperial Irrigation District. So if you have questions on that or want to know more information, I'd encourage you to either visit their site or to attend their meetings to ask those questions on water or power.
We mentioned that the data center will be using wastewater that then the city will purchase. It was also mentioned that the data center, to cool the data center, there would be different synthetic fluids. When the city buys that wastewater and then is invested into parks, Is that wastewater going to include synthetic fluids? And if so, what is going to be the effect on parks, on living beings, and on humans themselves?
Synthetic fluids. So when I talked about synthetic fluids as an option for cooling, I was talking about a potential alternative way that cooling could happen. So if there is upgrades that would be needed to the actual, let's say, grid, substation improvements, things like that, who pays for them? So IAD did talk about this in their workshop, and they were very clear that they do have facility studies that they do with project developers. This is not unique to data centers. If there are improvements from infrastructure that have to occur, those do get paid for by the developer. And that is something that comes again from IID. That's not something that's managed by the county.
How much revenue do data centers receive annually? I know that we mentioned that they were going to be taxed an annual tax of 4 to 7 million. I was under the impression that data centers make billions annually. So why are they only being taxed 0.04% of what they make annually?
Those are the property taxes that we would expect to come in from, again, that 50 megawatt facility. If a facility were larger, we would expect there would be significantly larger property taxes that would come in on an annual basis.
Can you repeat clearly, because it's being mentioned by union leaders, how many permanent, not construction works that are construction jobs that are temporary. We want to know how many permanent jobs there will be at the data center. Thank you. Those are all my questions.
And to the last question, how many permanent jobs would there be at a data center? So again, this would be very dependent on the actual project that's coming in and the size of a project that would be here, with how many would be needed. One of the things the county does, though, for specific projects is we do an economic impact fiscal and job analysis. And what that looks at is a specific project, and it looks at the anticipated sales use tax, it looks at the property tax, it looks at the construction jobs, it looks at the additional jobs that could come from those projects, typically referred to as ancillary jobs. And then in addition, it looks at what we could expect to even local vendors or suppliers, and what we would expect for permanent jobs. So those are done on a project-specific basis, and that is information that we could share for a specific project.
The project is going to be responsible for any infrastructure development, such as the grid, or the water, or anything that is access towards the data center. To answer the lady's concerns about energy, well, there's from the slide, it's 3,200 megawatts that was generated in 2025. More than 2,000 is exported. So there is substantial amount of energy being generated here. So, and in addition to that, there were impact studies done to the grid that said it's not going to be impacted. So that's not going to be a problem. At first, we'll probably bring in energy from the outside through the network, and then eventually lock contracts with solar and geothermal companies. Water, the concern with water, it's going to be reclaimed water. The water is either going to come from the city of Imperial or the city of El Centro. We're thinking of purchasing 6 million gallons a day, of which only 750,000 are going to be used on a daily basis at the top end, which means that all of the rest of the water produced is going to go back into the drains, the Alamo, eventually the Salton Sea. So this is an environmental impact that's net positive, not negative, like some people assume.
¿Han escuchado los trabajos que se pueden venir por el data center que van a construir?
Okay.
Data center, esos son trabajos que se pueden venir, que quieren abrir. Es un trabajo.
Retired.
You're retired?
Yeah.
Okay.
¿Verdad? Entonces hay mucha controversia porque la gente no está bien informada. Entonces lo que andamos haciendo es informar a la gente para que tengan mejor conocimiento de qué va a ser un data center, qué beneficios va a tener para la comunidad, trabajos, mucho costo de infraestructura que normalmente se la cobran a la persona que vive en el valle, ¿verdad? Entonces va a haber muchos beneficios indirectamente de los trabajos que se van a realizar.
Por disability.
Por el disability.
No, yo soy ingeniero en electrónica, bases de datos, basics. Yeah,
The type of noise that is being suggested will take place here. And it's a matter of fact, the area where the data center is going to take place is near an airport, and there's a railroad that goes there daily, and it makes a lot of noise. I've talked to some of the people from the community, and they tell me that it's very noisy during the morning, early in the morning, and sometimes during the evening. Same with the airport. So I believe the noise that is already there is going to supersede the noise being generated from the data center. As far as the type of cooling, we're learning that there's new technology that's going to take place, which is probably going to use less water than we anticipate. Thank you.
All right, hey, we'll notice that you're a speaker. I want to talk about We're not talking about a data center, right? I thought this was a workshop. Now, he's talked about a specific data center. Mr. Kelly talked about a specific data center. What data center? And all the issues associated with AI data centers doesn't burden the communities that live adjacent to them. Part of that, BESS, the lithium battery storage. Lithium, by the way, is not a renewable energy source. That's part of this greenwashing scheme that they're giving us. Lithium is non-renewable, and it's very volatile. It's something that we need, of course we do. But you guys didn't talk about BESS as facilities. So one of my questions about those, I have it here. Shoot, I should have had it ready to go. Well, anyway, I would like you to talk more about it because you didn't cover that in your supposed workshop. But I mean, if they catch fire, like what are you going to do if theoretically there's a house next to it? But we're not talking about any data center in particular, though, right? Just if they're building next to a house. Is there a source that, Ms. Bean, that you can share that proves that data centers can operate in high heat climate, or are we going to take your word for it tonight? I'd really love to see that source. I also like to know how many data centers are in the works right now in Imperial County. Since we're just talking about data centers, there's one that some people have talked about. How many are in the works? Are there going to be restaurants and coffee shops at the data center? Is that on the campus? I'd like to know that, since it's going to bring a nice job for people. And then what role does public opinion play in these types of projects? If hypothetical outrage is consistently on public display, is it the county's duty to try and convince people otherwise, or is it the prerogative of the county to respect the community's voice? And I will concede the rest of my time.
We do already have over 125 megawatts of battery energy storage systems here in Imperial County, and so this isn't something that is new to Imperial County, and we do have fire and safety procedures with our actual county fire department. Anything additional on that?
That's correct.
Can you tell us about those procedures, please?
One of the most concern I have is the energy. We've had blackouts in the past years. I had to go to a hotel myself those days that happened. So it's hard for me to understand how we are having the excess of energy. I know Lithium Valley is not happening anytime soon. So if that's the solution, I don't see it happening. My other concern is the water pollution. I think it's heavy metals. From what I read, the water systems to cool those machines, well, sometimes they go through the cables, and that's a very heavy pollution. Imperial City had to make us pay for having to create new plants to clean that water specifically, and we are still paying for it. We are still having to pay extra money to get clean water in Imperial City. So I don't see either the excess of water, and I don't see how is it going to be clean, either if it's synthetic or not. And my other concern is the fire risk. I live in the east part of that potential facility, So yes, if there are also see some tanks there that I'm not sure what they are, but I am concerned if there is a fire because I understand that electric things, they take a while to be put down. We see the problems with Tesla nowadays, So my other concern is if you are saying that IID is the one that is going to be taking care of providing that electricity or water, or the ones taking the decisions. So how the county is going to be accountable or responsible if something happened that there is not enough water, not enough energy at the end of the day, either because it grew bigger than expected or because there is a drought. So how is the county accountable for that? Because you are the ones who are supposed to take care of us. I would like to see a lot more specific details. I don't know if this is going to be like a project that's going to continue growing, like they said. I would like to see also more specific number about the jobs that we will create.
We enjoyed and have enjoyed in our history of this county a fertile area that our forefathers found a way to have water delivered so that agriculture could be the base of what we have in this county, the base of economic opportunities, the base of jobs. And all of that has carried us as a county with the ability for the cities and you, the county, to provide services that we all depend on, whether that be fire protection services or sheriff or police services or public works or other kinds of things like that, or retail businesses or shopping opportunities. It has carried us to this point. But as we've now seen recently, that's also changing. Unfortunately, with the closure of Sprinkle Sugar, and as we see things shift from an agricultural point of view, we now need to diversify what has carried us so far. Because what will happen is there'll be a degradation of the services that we all as citizens enjoy, or the opportunities that are afforded us where maybe they can no longer stay open or stay active because the jobs or the base of our economy now starts to shift. So here we are in this county now enjoying the new potential of the solar that we can create here, the energy, or the geothermal, or these other baseload opportunities that's now creating this opportunity for a new kind of industry to come here to start keeping what we enjoy alive and not lose. And an opportunity for the first time in the energy side to in fact have the opportunity of what we produce here not serve somebody else in another county or another state, but to serve what will come here. And so not just the opportunity of the jobs that would be brought here with this new diversification of jobs in energy and industry, but the energy in fact would serve it here. And so then we get those jobs of what they produce and so on. So it's just a wonderful opportunity. This is a watershed moment for us in this Imperial County. And I'm hoping that we're able to take advantage of it, and we appreciate the county in allowing us to shepherd this thing through. We appreciate your efforts. Thank you.
Lights are bright, the golden hand, a dream come true across the land. My name called out a roaring sound.
Hi, thank you for having me. My name's Randy. I'm from LA County, but I'm in energy production actually, and I wanted to say Imperial County has excellent potential. It's one of these, I think, I consider a diamond in the rough. And I say that because it's got a long history, it's got good culture of people, and you get the opportunity of bringing money in from Silicon Valley without all the annoying people. You actually get to benefit from that. You can use that money towards your infrastructure, towards hospitals, towards roads, instead of these type of meetings, the meetings should be considering what you're going to spend the money on and how you're actually going to improve your lives. honestly, with the attraction of data centers in general, it's going to bring. You're not going to change the culture of the place. You're just going to bring in more money. And I'm telling you this. I know the type of jobs that are going to be offered, especially as data production, data centers. When we were talking about job numbers, that was only for a 50 megawatt project. Data centers, to be hyperscaling, are a minimum of 150 and go up to 1,000, which is a gigawatt. And that does scale up, so you do get more jobs. Not to mention all the energy production and renewable energy, if that's what the Imperial County wants. So there's all types of benefits here that I think are being overlooked, and you're right to be concerned. And this is your home, and you should be asking questions. And these are all good questions. You just got to have to be open to it and keep your finger on the pulse. But I promise you, this type of investment is actually going to benefit everyone without changing the culture. That's all. Oh, last thing, best systems. That Moss Landing project was a disaster from the start. It was built indoors, and you cannot fight a fire of that magnitude when it's contained in a building. The type of material that they used, the type of composite, is completely outdated. The whole system's changed. So best systems are that type of system is very outdated. You're not going to have those type of problems with anything in the future. Thank you for your time.
On hallowed stage, glory found, heart beating fast, words to share, a lifetime waiting.
In regards to this zoning consideration of ministerial by right, the process seems to be quite bureaucratic and true to business. It's been done behind the back of the community. This does not apply just to the county. The city of Imperial also didn't talk about this until it was moved out of the city and then to the county, and then it was something they wanted to talk about. It's something that is entirely predicated on the county's acceptance of developers' so-called right to avoid regulations like CEQA and to extract profit at will. Developers' own lawsuit, a nondescript example, it has been stated that avoiding CEQA and stripping through permitting requests as fast as possible is the stated goal without any regard for the community. Claims that any of these projects will bring jobs and not impact water and electricity rates. I've not really been backed up by any studies, by any commitments. That's simply just talk. They say that there will be use of reclaimed water, that if any developer will pay for anything, then it should be put in writing. It should be a commitment. There should be a release of all plans. It should be reviewed by the community.
This moment feels like flying high.
But then 50 jobs is really nothing to get excited about. And I know you say that there'll be ancillary jobs created, but per your slide, you said there'd be about half a job created for every one permanent job. So that's another 6 or 7 more jobs. So, I mean, that's nothing to get very excited about. It was touched on that the developer would pay for upgrades, but it was never touched on what about the wear and tear of the grid. That's where the taxpayers are footing the bill. And I don't think that's right for a taxpayer to be footing the bill for maintenance of wear and tear when we didn't ask for that, demand to increase. And, on these jobs, we should be seeking industries that will bring permanent jobs, long sustainable jobs, not short-term jobs. I get it that, my brother here from the construction union, I'm a retired Teamster business agent as well. So I know about labor, how important it
So
is.
much to tell, so
But
much to impart, pouring out my grateful heart.
So I like to know where the developers live, if they live here in the Imperial Valley, if they're gonna be close to the site where they have, are thinking about setting this data center by the train. I already have issues with the train and with the helicopters. So now you are adding on to that? Really? You're just gonna come here and drop all of that on us and then you're gonna go back to your places and have a very nice, peaceful night every night while we all suffer here? Yeah, I don't think so. Now, we do have many polluting agents here in the valley already. That doesn't mean that we are open to gather more, to accept more. We do not want that. You can take it somewhere else, close to where you live, and you're gonna be sleeping, all right? Now, have you considered health-wise? We already have many problems, mental health problems, breathing problems, all right? Heart problems. So all of that, who's gonna be putting up with that? Us, that we live here. Sir, do you live here? Close to where you're gonna build the thing?
No.
Sir, that you argue that we have treated you poorly? Thank you.
Under the spotlight, gone too soon.
That this is a real scary monster that we have to think about, that we're feeding into it. That's what AI is. You keep feeding into it, and it's a monster that is just going to be getting bigger and bigger. My question is, you said it's going to be reclaimed water, but if you're using reclaimed water that originally was supposed to end at the Salton Sea, that means that that water is now not going to end there, which will then lead for the Salton Sea to shrink faster, which it's already on its way to doing that very soon, which then will lead to that contamination reaching the entire region, and that would be pollution to the entire community, specifically those close communities impacted closer to the Salton Sea. So that is in addition to, that was mentioned earlier, cumulative impact, not just the impact that you're mentioning on your slides, but the cumulative impacts of over the years, how that's going to really impact the community. That's what I would like to see a report on. They mentioned that there's already noise there, the trails and the airplanes, but my question is, are you saying then that the data center generators are not going to add noise, that the airplane noise is much louder, that this is not going to be adding anything to it? I want an answer to that. The tax percentage, it was asked earlier, for a 50 megawatt, the tax was very low. It was around 4 to 7 million for a $1 billion industry, but you didn't really respond with a clear answer. Even if it's not a 50 megawatt, let's say it's 150 megawatt, what would that tax look like for the county? And is that percentage still going to be super low? And I also want to know if there's negotiations in place for sustainable jobs. If there are going to be around 20 to 50 sustainable jobs for a 15 megawatt, but then someone in the crowd explained that this is going to be a much larger data center, maybe 100 or 150, that would then turn into maybe 50 to 100 sustainable jobs. Is there any negotiation in place for at least 51% of those jobs to be for local hire, or is this going to be just people brought up from out of state or out of county? Again, 100 jobs, 100 sustainable jobs, even if it were to reach 100?
I did provide that as an example of a type of water use that could be used for developers. I also did share that alternatively they could get water supply agreements from the IID, or there could be synthetic cooling. But without talking about any specific project, I can't address whether or not it would be reclaimed water for all data centers that would come into this area. The question on property tax. Property tax is assessed at 1% of the value of that property, and that is for countywide. That's not specific to a data center. So it would be 1% based on the assessed value of the property, whatever that property value would be. So in the example that I provided.
So wherever the data center is located, or any type of project, it has to comply with the noise requirements. It also has to comply with the noise adjacent to. So for example, let's say I have industrial land and residential land. Industrial or agricultural land, let's say, it has a higher noise threshold as normally obtainable noise, where residential has lower. So at the property line, the industrial doesn't get its higher level. It has to meet the residential level. So if it's, say, 70 decibels are commonly allowed in industrial, but 55 is in residential, you have to meet the residential at that property line. And so any type of large-scale project like that, we would require we would require a noise study to make sure that the noise study, that the proposed project would not exceed the county's general plan regulations. And if mitigation is required in terms of adjustments for types of technology to make sure it reduces down that.
Other question was negotiations on local hires.
That is not something that has happened with any developments to date, because we don't have any projects that are that far along within Imperial County for data centers overall. But that is something that we can take back to our office and to our board of whether or not that could be considered as a requirement within a developer agreement or some other form of conversation with projects coming in, whether it's a data center or other projects.
Can we get an answer to not the previous lady, but the second previous lady who had questions about accountability? Those weren't answered. So I was hoping that we could get answers to her questions as well.
They say you're nosy, the shadow away on me. We were music for years, so like a real one-string year, and like RBC is a true down a minor knee.
In that line of thinking, and that attendee already left, so we can't have her restate her question.
It was about accountability.
I heard what you said, but I don't know what the question is about accountability.
I can answer
How
it.
is the
Thank
county
you.
accountable if the IID are the ones who are responsible for the water and the
Could you
power?
come to the microphone, please? It won't be, and this won't be a 3-question, a 3-minute discussion.
She just asked how would the county be accountable if the IID are the ones responsible for the water and the power? If anything were to go wrong on their end, how is the county holding them responsible, or how is the county accountable?
Yeah, we're not accountable for the IID specifically. We do have parameters though within our projects.
You
You want to
mentioned
touch on that, Mr. Minute?
you mentioned like a balance or a check, a balance, something like that. Balance.
Yeah.
That was the balance. Nobody's accountable.
I mentioned that the
So
Imperial.
is that I hold accountability that doesn't factor into the balancing?
What's a stratification district is also the power district, and the power district is responsible for all power served in this community. And under CAISO and FERC and NERC, all of the utility management for state and federal, we call it a balancing authority. Just like if you go to San Diego, San Diego Gas Electric is the balancing authority for that area. If you go to LA, it's SoCal Edison and so forth and so forth. That's what she was referring to.
But the IID comes after. The county is voting on that decision first, and then it's the IID. So the accountability should go both ways. No or no?
Okay, so if you build a house, you have to have power to generate the house. If I, as the building department, wants to issue you a building permit to build your house, I have to make sure that the utility company has the power, or say it's Hebrew, has the water and sewer capacity, or I can't issue you the building permit because health and safety codes say that when you occupy that house, it has to have power, water, and sewer. Same thing here. So these types of businesses, we have control over the building permits and the health and safety, but the utility companies are responsible for the water and sewer and power. It's not in our jurisdiction, but if it's failed, then we go after those utility companies. Or if it's a failure on the property owner's side, we go after the property owner to make sure it gets rectified. But it's not some kind of balancing thing.
But I think that, I think in essence, that
The partner here this evening is also the owner of MLEP. These are land, heavy industrial zone properties in the old Mesquite Lake area. That land there's approximately 6,000 to 7,000 acres that was set up several years ago for heavy industrial and industrial zoning. It was promised at that time that there would be electrical service, there would be septic service provided for those industrial developments. That's never occurred. I'm going to go over just quickly. There's many other locations in this county that are highly susceptible to having data centers in the future. And not just data centers. I was in a meeting in Taipei, Taiwan, the first week of January of last year, sitting before a group of gentlemen that were willing to come to the Imperial Valley, and they had billions of dollars to invest. They were in the solar panel manufacturing, battery manufacturing, the only batteries that the Department of Defense buys that are fireproof, drone production, and they continually call. The one gentleman was not in favor of coming to the Imperial Valley because he'd already tried to do a project here and he didn't want to put up with the BS. Now, what I'm going to tell you this evening, water is not an issue. You folks are sitting on top of 4 billion acre feet of recoverable groundwater. 1 billion acre feet is highly recoverable and could be utilized. We've all been sitting here for over 100 years, siphoning off the fruits of our grandfathers and fathers from all of the water that's come out of the Colorado River. I'm actively working today on many other types of water for Southern California. We have electrical. If you have a problem with electrical, all of you people that are here that are opposed to this should be at the IID board meetings.
Over there, can you direct them, please?
She's telling the truth.
I'm sorry, all of the people that are here that are in opposition to this should appear at the IID board meetings, especially the ones that have been through a blackout. There's not been any very, very small amount of new generation equipment put in here in the last 20 years. I thank you all. I'm out there every day slugging. I have for 13 years.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's questions at co.imperial.ca.us. We're happy to look at those. And in closing, I'd like to thank all the participants who took time to come here this evening. We appreciate your participation and your engagement, and look forward to continued collaboration.
Actual specific workshop about this specific project.
Thank you for attending this evening.
The gentleman over there sent the R-slip to the woman in the wheelchair, just so you know for future.
El data center que van a construir, the data center to benefit the community. Good thing for the community, the data center.
In the heart of the valley, where the dry winds roam.
Estoy aquí agendando entrevistas aquí con Anton, es el videographer que tenemos aquí, profesional. It would be amazing if you could get, if you could give me like a 150, I know it's kind of short notice, 115, 130.
Cut and paste and delete.
Hey Corbin, it's so good to see you, man. Come on, man, let's go over here.
just trying to, give my story, brother. And at the end of the day, what I feel is best for the community.
Yeah, and I think the information that you're about to give is very important.
Hello, my name is Corbin Dillon. I'm a community member, student, and soon-to-be entrepreneur. I wasn't able to attend the workshop they had yesterday for the data center due to the fact is I was working with some people from UCR that are actually giving a presentation about Lithium Valley at IVC, which was at the same time. Due to the fact is we have lithium here, and that is a gold mine that we're all sitting on. And hopefully within the near future, we could take advantage of that here in Imperial Valley. So as a student and community member, I'm well involved, and UCR had an actual kind of a seminar and an introduction and the understanding of what lithium is and how they're doing their studies here locally in the Imperial Valley. So they had a little bit of an introduction and understanding at IVC. At the same time, they had the data center meeting at Central. So that's the reason I was able to be there, because I had to choose one or the other, and I chose to do the meeting at IVC for lithium. Just as a community member here in Imperial Valley, not born, but I was born in San Diego, but raised most of my life here in Imperial County. I just see the growth that is not here, that is possible growth that happens everywhere else, and they don't have as much amenities, nor do they have the resources we do. And it just appalls me that we don't have the growth that we should. We have the potential, but it just seems as if there has a standstill for any kind of growth or any other kind of possibilities within industry that can come here and make a profitable environment for us all. I'm not just talking, within the smaller ranges of jobs, but I'm talking the wide ranges of jobs. Industry brings in other industry, and we're talking entrepreneurs would be able to make it something here. Not just entrepreneurs from out of county or out of state, entrepreneurs that are here locally that are actually thriving to understand how business runs, and that's the best way to get that industry understanding is by being involved. And how can we be involved when there is no new industry here? It's been a continuous dead field for a lot of people here. So my thing is by bringing in new industry and by being able to promote jobs, local jobs, promote growth within our county, everything will have a drastic change. As a student at IVC, trying to better myself and looking forward to these opportunities that are coming, but it just troubles me to know that these opportunities are having troubles even starting when we have everything here for that to happen. All the dominoes and pretty much everything's in a row. All the ducks are in a row. We're ready to go. It's just a constant battle between understanding how environmental and other things and factors that have really no say in all of this, in my point of view, because it's proven. We live in the most stringent and most, how can I say, politically converse city, to where we all know each other. We know what's going on. So there's nothing that can be actually put underneath the carpet, if you will. So I just want everybody to understand that when we stop things like this, we're stopping people like myself from growing and becoming the individuals that they want to become and actually creating a profitable lifestyle. So pretty much being here in Imperial County, we sit on one of the most highest concentrates of lithium. A lot of people don't understand that, because if you do your research, our concentration is highest in the whole world. So in actuality, when you talk about chemistry-wise, you could actually find out which lithium is from the Imperial Valley, even if it's distributed all over the world. It has its own fingerprint, which is its own kind. So that's where we have something that nowhere else in the world has. So that's a gold mine in itself. We have the potential to become something bigger and greater than a lot of people actually really visualize.
AI data center that they want to build here in Imperial County. This is a flyer that talks about the potential jobs, okay? We're just kind of informing the community here about the benefits.
Cool.
That talks about those jobs. Thank you. AI data center is going to clean our water, and these are some jobs right here.
What's going on? I'm gonna be into, and I got more ideas for my too.
Okay, so it seems like we're having a hungry, and the restaurant opens at 3 p.m. So I have one more interview, and by the time that interview is over, it should be 3 p.m. and I'm going to get some food. I might eat some salad because I'm trying to stay away from the high carbs.
Lights are bright, mic is hot. Ready now, give it all you got, no turning back. The stage is set, best is yet to come.
Oh shit. Okay. Hey man, good to see you here, man.
Man, I'm excited too. Honestly, the job opportunities that are gonna come, the job placements that are gonna come, it's just gonna bring a lot of work. I think it's just gonna be positive for like the workforce.
We definitely need that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I've been thinking about.
What do you want to do? What do you want to do?
Instrumentation, or do I talk about? Okay. All right. So right now, my name is Eli Contreras. I'm a student at IVC, and I'm taking the course of instrumentation. It's to get certified, and it takes about a year just to finish the course, get certified, and then I can start applying jobs here locally, especially locally. That's the best part. Here in the Imperial Valley, it's not far away. I don't got to travel anywhere. And it's easy. I want to become a instrumentation tech, and yeah.
Okay, what is instrumentation?
Instrumentation techs are basically people who install instruments like flow meters, level meters, temperature devices, transmitter devices, ball valves, all that, valves, anything that they use in industrial like companies, they use all that stuff. And well, they need someone to apply them, to put them, settle them, coordinate them, and well, yeah, that's what instrument techs do.
Okay, so you're here for the lithium extraction from Lithium Valley, that white gold.
Yes, sir, that's right, that's correct.
So you're waiting for Lithium Valley to take off?
Oh, yes, sir, of course. Brine is basically it's that hot, it looks like mud, it's just extracted deep, far from the ground, and they're separated, they're put into separators, then boilers, and then, yeah, it just conducts electricity, it conducts power, it creates power, and that's how most of us get power out here in Imperial Valley, and in many other different places, different states too.
Yeah, so okay then, so that the lithium is very important for battery storage, right?
Yeah, we win twice. It's basically two birds with one stone. It's geothermal businesses will go up, and then that will even help out the data centers with their batteries. It would just profit. It would be positive for both geothermals and the data centers.
Perfect.
No, he's the future.
For the future of Imperial Valley, that's really what we need.
Do you want to relocate away from Imperial County, or do you want to stay here? That's an important question because he wants to stay here.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking to. I wanted to stay in the Imperial Valley. My mom, I wanted to buy my house that I'm living in right now with my mom because she wanted to sell it. So I want to buy that. I want to stay in the Imperial Valley. I don't plan on moving, but I mean, if nothing comes alive here in the Imperial Valley, well, I might have to leave, but I don't really want to. I want the Imperial Valley to grow, bring more businesses, more jobs, opportunities. Just more opportunities.
Imperial County, and this is a flyer that talks about them, okay? Thank you.
Thank you.
AI data centers bringing jobs to the community, okay? Thank you. Thank you. Can I leave this? And I want chicken wings, and I want you to burn them. That's how I want my chicken wings burned. And I'm here at the 1905 Bar and Grill, the best food here in the Imperial County with the best hotel here in the Imperial County. So make sure you come and check it out. And I'm really hungry, by the way. Okay then, okay, let's do that.
Okay, hang on, let me,
Hey Erica, welcome to the show, man.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, you know, this is very important what's happening here.
Yes, it is.
Don't you think?
I believe so. Let's go.
mind telling us a little bit about your aspirations once you graduate?
Oh yes, I'm trying to take it further. I'm trying to join a union. Yes, it's something that I'd like to take as a career, and I'd like to take it further. I do it inside of Imperial Valley. I can help the community and be a help and just grow with the city of Imperial. Yeah, so with my HVAC career, I'm trying to look for a job that's more permanent within inside of Imperial Valley. Yes, I'm in a refrigeration, the HVAC refrigeration, and it's just a beautiful, great trade. And out here in the valley, it get real hot, and it's a high demand. And I love to work out here and become a part of the city. Refrigeration is the best invention. I like it. I love it. I want to be in it. I want to further my education. I want to further my skill. It's at a high demand and it's well needed in this area. And I want to specialize in refrigerant to cool down computers at the data centers. And I want you to understand that bringing job opportunities like this to the Imperial Valley is very important.
The CPUs are constantly evolving. That creates more work, and that creates a demand for more technicians to be able to come in and change those. The need for those computers to be cooled also.
CPUs are constantly evolving, and that creates jobs for more technicians. CPU needs cooling, so that creates more jobs for HVAC refrigerant technicians.
He wants to be a part of that, and I want to be a part of helping people get jobs.
So let's all come together and be a part of it.
Thank you, Eric.
Thanks for having me.
All right, not a problem. Jobs that the AI Data Center is going to bring to the community. Aquí se ocupan muchos trabajos, ¿verdad? Y hay muchos trabajos aquí que el AI Data Center. What's up, guys? I'm right here, Latino Bar and Grill. We're doing some films.
The stage is set. Best is yet to come. No regret. Feel the energy. Feel the beat. Got something great. Can't be beat. The spotlight's on. It's all for you. Let your voice break through.
So wait, let's go ahead and keep that for the interview.
And action.
Alberto, the true voice of Imperial County, he represents what Imperial County is, the working class. You are working towards a plant operation degree or certificate at Imperial Valley College. So tell us a little bit about your economic situation right now.
Data center, geothermal, electricity, a bunch of ideas, a bunch of things we have to do. Me, I'm 40 years old. I barely have one degree, but back in the day, you can get a job. Right now, it's not a lot of opportunities. The perfect time to have something new to do. Plus, there's a lot of people who went to school over here, but they don't have jobs. They need to go out of town to find a job. Right now, over here in the valley, it's a good opportunity to keep having your family near to you and go out and get a family and keep making the valley great again. Why? Back in the day, we used to be farming, but we need to change that thing. It's something else, something new. Believe me, I come from Mexico. I know I'm a little bit from Mexico. Over there used to be algodón, farming, a bunch of things. They're taking some time to be now like a factory. They have a bunch of things they build. So
Working on a plant operating certificate.
yes. The only thing is not opportunities. The only one we have is Element, we have GST, Community, IAD, and that's we don't have.
3 benefits that you see that the data center is going to bring to Imperial County.
First of all, better life to the valley. Checks is have better jobs. People need to be ready to get their jobs. If you're not ready, you're not. Community, and the moment we have better jobs, they're gonna be permanent. Everybody like the job new to them. They need to move. Is sometimes the family live here. They're married, but the wife they can stay here. They're going to be to San Diego, Los Angeles, live over there 5 days, and then come back in the weekends and again. You believe me, that is a lot of people to get develop. Why? Because they don't have jobs to pay. So later, when the people get started, get a little knowledge, you get it more easy. You get it more easy to get it to. You accept what is new. But most of the time, I think the human nature they don't want to change. So that's something happening over here. There's a bunch of people they don't want to change what they do. They believe they want to be farming their whole life, but sometimes when you start doing that, you need to jump something else. Actually, you want your son to do the same thing when you do it. I want if I want to work in the farm, I don't want my son working the farm. I want him working something else. So it's crazy how the AI is working. Yeah. For now, let's see what happens. Yeah. Okay, that's another one. Let's see what happens.
If you have anything to report, call me.